In the previous session, we have uncovered the JDBC palette, and in this session, we will take a look at JDBC transaction. This is TIBCO Designer, which is used by developers to design and develop TIBCO Business Works 5 projects. And on the left-hand side, these are the project files, and we have multiple tabs available: global variables, tester, palettes, and we'll explore as we go through. And on the right-hand side, we see the process canvas where we design our business process flow. And this is JDBC transaction project, which is shipped out of the box from TIBCO. And on the bottom, you will see the configuration panel where you will be able to configure each and every activity which is used in this flow. I'll try to explain this flow, what it does, and what is the role of the JDBC Transaction Group here. If you see this process definition, you will see a green play button, which is essentially signifies that this is the starter process where the flow begins. And it's a timer-based starter process, and you see the play button on this activity, which signifies that this is the starter activity. And this is where the flow begins. And this timer process is configured to run once when we test or trigger this flow. And the next step is a Java code activity, which is trying to generate test data. And the next group, this rectangular box, is a group called JDBC Transaction. Here you see the group action as transaction, and the transaction type is JDBC, and inside which there is some logical functionality which occurs, and we have to design our process in such a way that, for example, there is a business scenario where you have to take part in a transaction, which means that this transaction either should pass or fail only if the entire business functionality inside this group are passed, and it should roll back if any one of the activity fails inside this logical group. And that's what is tried to mimic some real-time business flow. The first JDBC update is trying to insert some data into BW transaction test table, and the second JDBC update is trying to insert data into BW transaction test 2 table. And here there is some real-time mimic where the transaction should abort based on a global variable value. Here, the abort JDBC transaction is false, and in case of false, it's going in the success flow and ending the process. And if abort JDBC transaction is true, then it will generate an error, which is the intent of this process design. And in case of error, these two JDBC updates should roll back, and it will go in the error flow, log some error message, and end the flow. This is what this process flow is about. And let's try to run this flow. And before running this flow, we have to create the tables which are used by this JDBC activities. And another important point to remember is that these two JDBC activities should be using the same JDBC connection in order to take part of the transaction. The second thing you need to remember is, since this is a JDBC transaction group, Any other activities like JMS transaction will not be rolled back in case of failure scenarios. Only JDBC transactions will be rolled back. That is important to remember. And let's begin. I'll try to create the two tables. The first table is created. The second table is created. And before we test it, let's just run a select statement. We know that there is no data already in these tables. This is table 1, and this is table 2. We're just running it before we test the flow. Query 1, no data. Query 2, no data. So back to our process flow, and in the tester tab we have a play button. Click that one and then select the process name and click load selected, and data is inserted. Here the data is inserted and the abort is false, so it went into success flow and we should see the data inside the. So query 1, query 2 has data in both of them. Now let's change the abort transaction to true. Save and stop the tester and rerun it. And it generated it inserted but generated an error. In this case, we don't see the data inserted. Let's see the database. We only see one data set. So let's change it back to false again to see if we can insert the next set of data successfully without having any transaction failures. Rerun it. This time it went inside the success flow. Let's see the database again. This time we have two data rows inserted. So this is how the transaction group works in TIBCO Business Works. I'll stop here and continue.